So we need to think a little bit about what does fasting mean? Fasting means giving up a limited good for a greater good. And in the Catholic tradition, we can do that in a number of ways. We can, for example, do the traditional way of limiting the amount of food, the amount of drink that we take during Lent as a way of providing us some kind of spiritual insight. That is, we're marking this particular period off and we're going to be very intentional, or we're going to be very conscious of the food that we take in. We could also think of fasting in terms of its relationship to social justice. I've known in many schools where colleges and universities where students have pledged on certain days, especially during Lent, to eat no more than the poorest people on earth eat, and then give the residue of what they would have normally eaten as a form of alms for taking care of the poor. And in that instance, what you have is the linkage of fasting and almsgiving. There's also the custom in many schools of providing during Lent what are called rice balls, which are little cardboard containers in which people put a certain amount of money into them. And there again, you have a kind of a link between fasting and almsgiving. But we could think of fasting also as a way of kind of correcting the way in which we typically live. So we might fast from food, or we might fast from drink, and those exercises might actually help us to understand the ways in which we might be abusing food and drink. But we could also fast in the sense of fasting from 4 hours of television a day, or the constant checking of the iPhone, or the constant tendency to go to Facebook, or the constant surfing the web, or any of the other practices which after a while become a form of mindlessness, etc. What would the purpose of that be? The purpose of that would be to make ourselves more intentional, more conscious of the way we live. You could also think of fasting as a strategy by which, because we resist, say, food or drink or certain types of activities, that when we resume them after a certain period, we may have a greater appreciation of what we're doing. I think that in a highly developed society, a highly developed culture of the kind we live in, we're completely unconscious of how easy it is to eat, and how easy it is to drink, and how easy it is to have access to things that distract us. And we throw away enormous amounts of food in a world in which many people don't have enough to eat. So there is a link, I think, between fasting, or abstinence, which are forms of asceticism that help us to become more conscious, or as I like to say, more intentional, purifies our intentions in terms of food.